Hello everyone, back to today's third video. So we're going to do a little summer 2019 sneak peek for today's third video, because the spring forecast has been released. You can find the video for that currently on the homepage at Galzovis. It will be placed on the spring forecast page later on this evening, and there'll be a written summary going over everything that we discuss in the spring forecast. So the long range bandwagon is going to roll on now from spring into summer, and I thought I'd just set the scene by talking you through some of the things that we'll be looking at for these summer updates, and also of course we'll include a couple of seasonal models for you to have a look at as well. Very early days with those, so don't necessarily take them too seriously, but we'll have a look at full long range models, see what they're showing for the summer. Towards the end of this little summer 2019 sneak peek. Just say the Galzovis Study Roundup has also been released today. That's on the homepage as well, so have a look at that and see what's going on. So we've already done an update for the summer actually. The first update that we did was a couple of weeks ago, when we was looking at back-to-back hot summers, because of course the big talking point about last summer was that summer 2018 was a very, very hot summer indeed, especially June and July. It did deteriorate a bit for August, but when it was at its peak last summer was very, very hot indeed. So we had a look in this first update, but released a few weeks ago, at the chances of getting another hot summer following a hot summer. So can you get two hot summers together? The upshot of that was that you can. It has happened before, but it's quite unusual and it's quite rare, and you have to beware the flip, because there is instances when you've had a hot summer that the following year can actually flip to a cold and a very wet pattern. The last time that happened for us was in 2006 to 2007. 2006 being a very hot summer, 2007 having flooding rains. So it can go either way, but it isn't out of the question that we could have another hot summer. Just because we had a hot summer last year does not mean we can't have a hot summer again following it. So we've already got that in the can. The things we're going to be looking at through this season will be kind of like the QBO. So we are descending into a westerly phase of the quasi-biennial oscillation, which we can see from this chart from the University of Berlin. So this grey area just here is showing us that we are going into the westerly phase of the QBO. This will be a strengthening westerly QBO summer. So that's one of the things we're going to have to look at. Of course, through reanalysis, we will be looking at past summers that were descending into a westerly QBO, or ascending into westerly QBO, a strengthening QBO signal, westerly QBO signal, if you like. So that's one of the things we'll be looking at. We also will be looking at solar activity, because of course we are going into solar minimum. We're seeing a lot of this at the moment, the solar disk being completely bereft of sunspots. So this is going to be a solar minimum summer. What impacts could that have? We will be discussing that in a further update. We're going to be keeping an eye on the sea surface temperature anomalies as well through this season of summer updates. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly that we had last summer. This is from NOAA, and it was taken on the 18th of June 2018. We had a very unusual and distinct strong cold AMO signal here, with this horseshoe shape of cold sea surface temperature anomalies that we see here in the northern part of the Atlantic, from southern Greenland through towards Spain and Portugal, and then back down into the central Atlantic. There was quite a bit of speculation that that sort of horseshoe shape of cold sea surface temperature anomalies may have had quite an impact on the continuous high pressure that we had last summer that gave us that very hot summer last year. And there was some comparison actually between the sea surface temperature anomalies that we had last summer and the sea surface temperature anomalies that we had in the summer of 1976. They were They weren't identical, but there were definite similarities between that North Atlantic oscillation pattern that we had last summer. So obviously we'll be keeping a very close eye on how the sea surface temperature anomalies develop in the North Atlantic as we're going into this summer as well. Also be keeping a close eye on ENSO, on El Nino. So it looks like we're probably going into a strengthening El Nino signal. Let's see what CFS is doing at the moment, or is forecasting. So actually the CFS through this summer, the dates are on the bottom of the chart just here, so this is kind of like summer 2019. The CFS is forecasting that we're going to strengthen into, through the summer, a moderate El Nino, possibly going into a strong El Nino event through the autumn. Now, it's probably overdoing that. It's probably over the top with it. Very often the CFS is. But we will be keeping a close eye on ENSO. If this is going to be a developing, strengthening El Nino summer, we will have to look at past years where we was having a developing El Nino, and we'll be keeping a close eye on what the impacts of that could be. And of course we will be looking at all of this through reanalysis. So this is from the first update that we did for the summer, looking at those back-to-back hot summers. This is the reanalysis chart for the summer of 2006 that I was telling you about. So obviously this was a hot summer with high pressure over Scandinavia and stretched out into the Atlantic. In many ways, the summer of 2006 did have comparisons to the summer of 2018. They were both very hot through June and July in particular, and particularly hot in July. So both of them were very, very hot with CT in July. July 2006 is still the hottest month and the hottest July on record. We fell just a little bit short of that with July 2018, but it was a very close run thing, and both Julys are above 19 degrees Celsius, which is unusual for the CT. So that's how the reanalysis looks for the summer of 2006. They both deteriorated, both 2006, 2018 deteriorated in August, had a deterioration of the pattern in August. That's how summer 2006 looks from reanalysis. That's how summer 2007 came out, with high pressure going up to Greenland and the trough sitting over the UK. A very cold or a very wet summer, and pretty dismal temperatures as well. Could we see something similar with 2018 to 2019? That'll be one of the questions we'll be attempting to answer as we're doing our summer updates. And obviously we'll be keeping a close eye on how the patterns are evolving through the spring. We're keeping a close eye on what the pattern does in March, in April and in May. And through reanalysis, we'll look at what the possible impacts of that evolution of the pattern through the spring could be on the summer. And as ever, the seasonal models will be included. So we'll just sign off with showing you a couple of long-range models. This is how the UK Met Office seasonal model is currently forecasting the early summer. It doesn't cover full summer period yet, June, July, August. It only covers May, June and July. But look at this. It's a mean sea level pressure anomaly for May, June and July, and it's going for an area of high pressure to be to our east-northeast, which will be bringing in very warm, if not hot, southerly to southeasterly winds. So here we go again. The UK Met seasonal model is forecasting a mean sea level pressure anomaly that might be conducive to some hot weather. Temperature anomalies from the UK Met Office seasonal model for May to July coming out substantially above average, not just for the UK but for most of Europe as well. And the precipitation anomaly, not too far from average, really. It looks a little bit wetter down to our south, so maybe indicative of thundery conditions going on there. Possibly some big storms breaking out through May, June and July. That would be a pretty mouth-watering type scenario, I think, for any storm watchers. CFS V2, the ever reliable or unreliable CFS V2, 700 millibar height anomaly for the summer of 2019. 2019 is currently looking like this. This will chop and change many, many times before we get to the summer, but at the moment has a ridge of above average heights very close to the country. This time it's just a little bit centred out to our west. But it's blocking off the Atlantic, so we'd expect a reasonably dry and quite warm summer with that, I would have thought. Temperature anomalies of the summer of 2019 with CFS-V2 generally hinting at being a little bit on the warmer than average side. Perhaps not particularly indicating a hot summer, but definitely quite a warm summer is being indicated there, not just for the UK, but for many parts of Europe too. And the precipitation anomaly from CFS-V2 is a little bit on the drier than average side. So you notice that for southern Europe, it's going for rather a wet summer, but across northern and northwestern Europe, it is going for, or hinting at anyway, it's a very long way off and it's a weak signal, but it is hinting at us being on the drier side. So, I mean, this is really early days, but at the moment, it looks like some of these long-range models are hinting towards a drier and warmer pattern than the summer, perhaps. What about Jamstech? Well, look at that. It's going for above average temperature anomalies for this summer as well, which is very unusual for this model, because this one, often these long-range models are more favoured towards the warmer side. This one actually is more favoured towards the colder side. So at this point, when we're this far away from a season, normally Jamstech will be looking quite cold, and then it will warm up as you get closer to the season, if you see what I mean. But at the moment, Jamstech is going for possibly quite a warm and maybe even a hot summer there. And if you have a look at precipitation anomalies, they're looking pretty dry as well. So obviously we're likely to be seeing some sort of ridge here across the north and west of Europe. Again, high pressure in charge, bringing a hot or warm and pretty dry looking summer. And then finally, for this little sneak peek, got Beijing Climate Centre. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly from the Beijing Climate Centre for the summer of 2019. Not quite so good, this one. It's not too bad. It's got above average heights, but they're more centred towards the south of us, with below average heights just up to the north. So this looks like a rather zonal signal for the summer, rather westerly. Now, of course, in winter, westerly winds are mild. That's the mildest wind direction from the west in the winter. But in summer, it's actually the other way round. So, in summer, westerlies off the Atlantic will be cooler than easterlies. Easterlies will be drawing hot air from off the continent, especially as you get through into July and August. So, actually, this one looks relatively cool with the pattern. It's a westerly summer, and probably just sort of showery type conditions. Temperature anomalies, there you go, that's a confirmation of that. The temperature anomaly is no better than average and possibly hints at being a little bit on the cooler than average side, especially out to our west. You'll notice a hot summer is being forecast for more southern and southeastern parts of Europe this time. So that's one of the balancing acts that goes on with the weather. If the north and west of Europe is cool, then the south and southeast of Europe will tend to be hotter. And it can be vice versa, of course. If the north and west is hot, the southeast will tend to be cooler. So it's going for a rather coolish summer, the Beijing Climate Centre, and precipitation-wise doesn't look all that exciting either. A bit of a north-south split, so northern areas are coming out with a wetter summer, wetter than average summer forecast for Scotland and Ireland. England and Wales is forecast to be a little bit on the drier than average side. That's just got the ridge through France, but the way the ridges are with the low pressure to the north of Scotland, it's basically rather a westerly and relatively, I would have thought, relatively cool and probably relatively unsettled summer. But again, it's really early days for these long-range models. So we're going to do 3 long-range seasonal model updates in March, April and May. The last one in May, of course, will be just before we release the summer forecast, which will be at the end of May. So these are going to change as we move through the season. They will evolve and you will see changes coming along. At the moment, though, we've got 3 out of 4 there that are on the warmer side of the summer, possibly a few hints, very early hints of the chance of another pretty warm or even hot summer for 2019, but we shall see. So the summer updates will be getting underway a week today. Next Sunday will be update number 1 for the summer of 2019, and we will continue to do updates through the season. Eventually, when we get to the end of May, we'll issue the GazOvins.com summer 2019 forecast. So here we go again. We're off and running with another season. Don't forget to check out the spring forecast, which is currently on the homepage and will be released on the will be placed on the spring forecast page this evening with a written summary. Galzo's Study Roundup is also on the homepage as well. So have a look at all the updates. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.